Goeiedag. Boeddhisme. Het is geen godsdienst. Het is misschien religie zou je het kunnen noemen. Het is een manier van leven. We praten vandaag met Gelek Rinpoche. Hij is van de Jewel Heart beweging. Hij heeft een centrum in Amerika, maar ook in Nederland. Jewel Heart, dat betekent het juwelen hart. En we gaan hem dadelijk vragen wat dat betekent. Het boeddhisme. Het boeddhisme kennen we het beste vanuit Tibet. En dit is ook een echte Rinpoche. Dat wil zeggen iemand die op jonge leeftijd erkend is als reïncarnatie van een lama, van een heilige, van een boeddhistische monnik. En zo iemand wordt dan een tulku. En in dit geval is dit dus iemand die in zijn jeugd in Tibet heeft gewoond, in 59 gevlucht is naar India, in Amerika heeft gewoond, de hele tijd monnik is geweest, maar ook een tijd lang niet monnik is geweest, in de wereld heeft rondgerend, contact heeft gekregen met de Beat Generation mensen zoals Allen Ginsberg en kennis heeft gemaakt maar met het Westen. Hij spreekt ook goed Engels en we gaan met hem praten over eigenlijk de dingen die mij interesseren in het boeddhisme en die hopelijk u interesseren. We gaan niet praten over al die verschillende secten. Hij is toevallig een Gelukpa, een geelhoeden monnik, maar dat maakt niet zoveel uit. We gaan praten over het boeddhisme en wat dat vandaag de dag betekent. En laten we maar eens wat heikele punten gaan behandelen. Bijvoorbeeld homoseksualiteit of magie. Zaken die op dit moment in Nederland in de belangstelling staan. Maar ik wil weten hoe dat nou zit in die traditie. Gelek Rinpoche, ik zal hem aanspreken met Rinpoche, is een eminentie zou je dat kunnen noemen. Dus een soort heilige in de ogen van de Tibetanen. Hij verdient dus allerlei, moet eigenlijk heel buigen en dat soort dingen. Maar in zijn lering zegt hij ook, dat hoeft niet. Het gaat niet om het buigen, het gaat om de verbinding die je maakt. En daar gaan we over praten. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Yes, I was talking about the relationship between, say, a guru and his student, or someone within a religious context. You say the form, the namaste, is not so important. What is important is that you have a love connection.
Absolutely true. Earlier, the Hindu traditions as well as the Buddhist traditions, earlier, they do emphasize importantness of the guru. And I have a very good relationship between late Allen Ginsberg and myself, as well as Philip Glass, the composer. And our relationship is slightly different than the traditional thing. And I don't like people to be getting folded hand and getting a bowing down, all of them. For me, personally, it doesn't really do any good, neither to the person who's doing, nor the person who's receiving that. What they're really looking at it is it's really a mental connection, the mind connection, the affection to the guru as well as to the disciple, and that should work. And the physical gestures and physical things, well, I have no objection to those people who are doing it, but I do not encourage it.
Now, what should a relationship between a guru or a teacher and his student bring? When you say it should work, how?
Well, there's a lot of different ways, a lot of different layers on this. The level one, superficial level, it is the learning part of it. Level 2, little bit of a meditative level, and then it is getting deeper inside. And the guru are supposed to be leading the individual through the path. So the layers goes a little deeper. Finally, when you become, let's say, if you are Buddhist, from the Buddhist point of view, when you can become a Buddha, and the way and how you lead to the Buddha level is through the mind of a guru.
Then you need a guru.
You do need a guru, as far as I know. But what I don't want is they're making it a big show out of it, you know.
Yeah, but so when you say you need a guru, you're saying that the guru lifts the student up to a higher level.
Leads the student up to. I'm not
Leads.
sure whether it's going to lift it or not, but it's lead to, guide to, bringing to.
But you cannot. Some people say that enlightenment can be achieved by yourself by taking off the layers of frustration and attachment and material things, and that you can achieve enlightenment or Buddhahood by yourself.
I don't know about that. I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure. But what I know a little bit about is, of course, you can get rid of anger, attachment, hatred, ignorance, jealousy, all of them, with or without Guru, no doubt about it. But the Guru's importance really doesn't come there. Guru's importance is at funnel level. At the funnel level, just before you become a Buddha, I think it's become absolutely a necessity.
So you need someone to help you over the last hurdle to reach enlightenment.
That's the thing, yeah. Okay. And that does not really have to be a guru or a living person. That's the different part.
It can be someone like Jesus, or
can be like a Jesus, can be like a Buddha, can be anybody whoever you are connected with. Actually, the truly guru, really true guru, Buddha is guru, Guru is Buddha, Jesus is Guru, Jesus is Buddha. To me,
they're all on the same level.
The same level, yes. Okay. They're the really true gurus.
Okay, you were talking about getting rid of anger.
Yes.
Yes. Now, have you been angry before?
I'm sure we have to be angry because that's human nature. You know, if you in America what they say, if you are not angry, you don't have balls.
You don't achieve anything.
You don't achieve anything, they say. I may not buy that, but we all get angry for sure.
It's a natural instinct.
Natural instinct, but different people have different layers of anger. And what I don't like is anger become hatred. And that I don't like it.
When anger becomes hatred.
Hatred.
Okay, but anger in normal life so has a function, because if someone comes with a stick to you, you might defend yourself and do something, but...
Or run away.
What?
Or you can defend or run away.
Yeah,
you can do two things. You can run away if you can, or fight. Yeah. You know what? I was here in Amsterdam many years ago, stayed in a hotel here near the train station, and two guys tried to rob me. And I had to fight, and I had to hit with my best fist possible to turn around, because I don't want him to kill me, so I have to hit it. So then Alan wrote a poetry later called Fat Llama, Punch Junkie, in 2 blocks from his hotel in Amsterdam.
Yes, Allen Ginsberg. Talking about Allen, he was in America a strange person. The Beat Generation in the 50s came out after the period of the war. They came with this feeling of revolution, yes?
Yes.
But that revolution was also related to him being homosexual.
Yes.
Coming out of the closet in...
Actually, they're the really freedom people who are really fighting for freedom of their own choice, whatever it is. It is. So lifestyle, poetry, art, expression... actually, it is really the people who are fighting for the First Amendment of American Constitution. Yeah?
Yeah, they were, and now we're 50 years later, and we're still fighting for it.
Yes.
And
yes.
There is a whole discussion in this country about the religious stance, about what is said in the scriptures of, say, Islam or the Catholic Church about homosexuality. What is the situation with respect to homosexuality in the Tibetan tradition, in the Lama tradition?
Well, in the Tibetan tradition, officially, that's a sort of an officially speaking, I don't think they accept that officially. But official is one thing, individuals another thing. A person like me.
Yeah, but talking about this official thing, is it said that like homosexuality is an illness, or is it?
No, not that type of thing. But officially, it is in general sort of a lot of the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, just like any other Buddhist or any other thing. The sexuality is not the favorite subject. They would like to talk about it in sexuality in general, and particularly any other ways than usual can be a very controversial subject.
So it's controversial even within Lama circles?
Yes, it's definitely a controversial subject, yes.
But there is not like a tradition in the past. I mean, was sexuality existing in Tibet over the past century?
I'm quite sure it is. Yeah. I'm quite sure it does exist. The homosexuality is such a thing with every official religion will object, but you find them within everybody, so I'm sure there is, So I'm not here to deny.
Okay, so we don't deny homosexuality, we don't deny anger. Karma. People feel that when you become a follower of Hinduism or Buddhism, that your life suddenly is filled with karma, with guilt about what you have done in the past, maybe even in previous lives, but that you're walking around with this heavy burden of karma, which makes it less free. It's like freedom versus karma.
I disagree.
You disagree, okay.
Absolutely. But I do people do accept karma. But karma doesn't have to be along with guilt. Now, for example, me personally, I don't buy guilt at all. I buy regret, no guilt. The guilt trip is the last thing you can do, play on people. But people do. We all play in order to achieve our own little goal, whatever. We do everything, we play the guilt trip too. Me personally, I don't buy guilt. In the sense of guilt, you are hopeless, helpless, you can do nothing. And that I will not buy.
But it has been a favorite subject of, say, the Western religions, especially Protestantism. There was
yeah. I mean, the religion itself, I don't think so. But a lot of it, the corruption comes into those great religions, whether it is Judeo-Christian tradition or Hindu-Buddhist tradition. They all have a great deal of corruption within the religion. These are the part of that. Playing guilt
trip. Where does that corruption come from?
Because, we look back in like 200 years or 200 years ago, how are they going to control the people? So the easiest way is to tell them, hey, you're bad and God's angry with you, you're going to go to hell or something. Is it the easy way to manipulate people? And I don't think the Judeo-Christian tradition or Hindu-Buddhist tradition really does not want people to go to jail or hell or whatever, any one of those littles, jail or hell or whatever, So it's not. It is I think it has been used by the institutions in order to mobilize people's support and remain...
So as a control mechanism?
A control mechanism, for sure. But I'm not denying there is negativities. Yes, there is negativities. But each and every negativity is impermanent. So it's changeable. So you can purify.
You're saying that if you experience in your life that you are, I'm not beautiful, I'm not very long, I'm getting gray, those I can feel as negative points. But you say
I'm not talking about that type of negative. As a matter of fact, you are beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I realize that
I'm talking about the negativities like hatred. Even somebody killed somebody. Some human being killed a human being. That's a negativity. That's wrong. But you can purify that and you can make it pure. It doesn't have to stuck there permanently with you. And that's why I don't buy guilt.
You don't
Karma, yes. No guilt.
Now what is karma in most general terms?
Well, very general terms, cause and effect. You do something, you have created, something will happen to you exactly the same way when you do something, good or bad, both.
Is that something that has like a time effect, that if you do it now, it will happen in the future? Or is at the same moment you do a good or a bad, the counter response, so to speak, happens at the same time?
The karma itself happens same time.
Instantaneously.
Instantaneously. But the result of the karma
will come later.
When it's going to come, everybody's guess.
I noticed that sometimes if you do something, say you give something to someone or you do a good thing, that at the same time something changes somewhere else in the world, and maybe someone starts writing a check or whatever, and then 3 weeks later you say, hey, wow, yeah, comes back to you. And I've noticed that many times. So, but then we come to the
that's called magic karma.
Magic. But that means that time, and in one of my poems I say, time is a mortal thing. It only goes for people and things that die, that have a finite life. But is time? What is the concept of time in the Buddhist tradition?
Time is present. In Buddhism,
time is now.
Time is now, for sure. But that doesn't mean there's no past time. That doesn't mean there's no future times. We do have a past, present, and future.
What I understand from Buddhism is that part of the purpose of life is to get away from that cycle of time. Of that repetition that sometimes is called rebirth. But
that's why the cycle of rebirth. As a matter of fact, I'm writing a book on reincarnation. So rebirth, here you go, rebirth, reincarnation, and actually it's called Good Life, Good Death, and Tibetan wisdom on reincarnation.
Good life, good death.
Yeah, and it's going to be released on October 9th by concert by Paul Simon and Philip Glass. And
Philip Glass and Paul Simon, the musicians, both musicians.
They're going to have a concert, and maybe Patti Smith will join too. And Richard Gere is going to be the MC. So
you have good names. Patti Smith. She
used
to say, one of the great poems is the people have the power.
That's right. That's how the people have the power.
The people have the power. That always. I interviewed her years ago, and that was stuck to my mind. The people have
the power. A good friend of mine too. Yeah. Patti. Yeah. So the reincarnation. I'm sorry, I forgot about that reincarnation.
Ask them the question. Do you think these great artists are reincarnations of good people?
Well, I always think Alan has some connection with. No, I don't remember the name.
But with some Tibetan.
No. Great American or Western.
Walt Whitman?
Poet. No. Blake.
The Blake, the mystical writer.
The mystical writer, the Blake. And I always think he has something to do with it. I don't know. I can't claim that he is the reincarnation of Blake. Blake reappeared. But he definitely has something to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, there is this whole story about reincarnation. Do we reincarnate as a specific person from this life into the next life? Can we say, like in the Lama tradition, you become the reincarnation of the previous Lama in your lineage? Or is there a more general principle that you kind of reunite with the general, the general soul mass, and then your energy is given to a new person, but not specifically? Like, is reincarnation personal, or is it more general?
Personal.
You think
very personal, yes. And I think it's definitely very personal. And the lamas happens to be recognized, but each and every one of us will definitely be reincarnated. You're going to be reincarnated. I'm going to be reincarnated. And I don't know whether we recognize each other.
Don't kill the cows. Don't kill the cows in 20 years' time, you know.
That's right. That's right. Each one of these cows,
has been
you know, really, I mean, going to be another reincarnation. No doubt about it. It's very sad, you know, to have this so much cows going to be
so
killing.
much animals being killed.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
so terrible. I cannot. I feel pain, honestly speaking. You know, I saw, you know, on television, there's so many cows burning in England, and I couldn't eat any more meat. I'm a meat lover, but I can't really eat now, you know. Feels really bad. Pain.
Do you think that the world is that we are in a situation where things are getting worse, or that we are at the end of an era?
I don't think we're end of an era, but we're getting worse and worse every day. You know, I know, we all know. Look at the environment of what's happening. Look at the brand new disease that we never know before, how many of them coming up. And whenever we have something to help, something new comes up. You know, so it is definitely not, in one way, it's a wonderful world, a wonderful life. To be in life at this moment is fantastic. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the time is degenerating, for sure. We're going in advance as well as degenerating, both. We're running in both sides.
Yeah, but could we look for a general principle there? I have sometimes the feeling that the technical communication that we have, television, telephone, internet, has taken away the real communication. The connectedness that we think we have through internet has replaced the real, you're here, I'm here.
It's
now.
True. It's true. The way we communicate is completely changed. You know,
we have externalized all our...
It is also very beautiful to go and meet people, sit down and have a cup of tea or glass of beer and have dinner together and talk about it. And that time is getting lesser and lesser and lesser. And it's beautiful if you remember. You know, you get the mails, and like a week later, you read it, think about it, reply, the other side is waiting. So you reply, 2 weeks later you communicate.
There was a natural rhythm to that.
It's a natural rhythm, it's beautiful. It's no longer there now.
It's zip, 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 zip,
yeah.
email.
So everything's email. Yeah, that's how fast we're running. You know, like 2 weeks you write a letter from here, get wherever you're writing, to United States or something. If you write to Tibet, it's going to take 3 years to come reach. Remember, there's in 1700s, those Capuchin monks and
Capuchin monks,
Capuchin monks and the Jesuits had a little problem in Tibet, and they wrote to Pope, and the Pope from Rome told the Capuchins, you move out, the Jesuits are doing better. So it took 3 years to get the letter.
Well, those were the times, but there's definitely a feeling that the advances in communication, what we call communication, has not led to real connectedness, to real communication. Now, how can we change it? There must have been in the history of Tibet similar developments where new weapons or new invasions has uprooted society. How is the Tibetan idea about things bringing back to the balanced way?
Well, I don't know whether there's a traditional Tibetan thoughts on this, but I'm not going to definitely recommend it to slow down, because it's going to against every world, you know. So I don't want to be recommended to slow down. But at the same time, if you really go so fast, there will be very difficult time for us to keep up, You know, we have to work so much these days. We work much harder than we used to. And we earn much less than we used to. Though your salary may be going up, but the effect of the real
is that
money...
true? The Western people are very rich. We have cars and books and money and plastic and...
Yeah, in one way you're rich, but on the other hand, you're not that rich either. In the West.
But what is riches? In the papers I got about you, it says that when you were young, you were forced, or you learned, and you read like 10,000 pages.
I memorized.
Book pages. Now these are a little bit smaller than our pages, but you memorized 10,000
pages. Yes.
Pages.
I did. I had a good, luck. Good luck.
Was that important in your life? Still, is that important?
It is important because now I forgot every word that I memorized. But however, when I'm coming on a difficult subject, a difficult question, somehow, some back behind the brain, some certain words pops up, and so I know I somehow have at least a reliable answer to the difficult questions. Somehow.
So although you don't have all these pages.
No, certainly not. It's
anymore,
gone,
But it has given you a base. Now in the Western we don't do that anymore. For years we even gave up learning, the dates and years of historical data, and now they're bringing it back. Kids wouldn't know when Napoleon. What was that? 1600, 1800? Yeah.
Well, that's it. Memorizing and visualization is as far as I'm concerned, my life, for 60 years of my life, these two are the most effective and useful. Visualizing.
Memorizing.
And visualizing.
Now, the visualizing, I find always a very interesting subject, because I cannot visualize at all.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes, and so people say, close your eyes and see an apple. I see no apple, I see blue. Shit. Which I find very frustrating, because so much in the Tibetan tradition is based on visualization.
A lot of visualization.
Yeah, all these tankas that we see are first written statements that you follow, then you visualize it, and then later people painted it. But the painting is the result, not
Exactly. That's what it is. You know what happened? 2 years ago, and I was amazed. I was watching television in my living room, and the news came. Some professor in Harvard University discovered one of the best tools of learning is visualization. So I've been saying myself, where did he go for 2,000 years?
Yeah, it is. But for me, so what would be the Tibetan way? If you have a little monk, a little boy, who says, I cannot visualize. What would you tell him?
Well, if you
get a big stick and hit him? Or
no,
what?
They may. But if you don't visualize, and I have a lot of friends who cannot visualize, but then you have the visualization can be substituted by the feeling and the energy.
Okay, but that's one of the theories that says you have people that are visually oriented, you have people that are auditively oriented, and you have the ones who are tactile oriented. Yes, people that like to touch. Now, right. I'm one of those people. If you tell me, can you feel yourself sitting here or sitting on the beach and feel the sand on the beach? Yes, I can feel the sand on my feet.
You may even hear the wave of the ocean.
Yes, it's more a feeling. So could that also be a basis for...
Exactly. It works the same way. Mm-hmm. Visual is easy, those who can do. Because if you can't do it, you can watch it, and then again you can visualize. That's why it's easy. But feeling or hearing or all of those can definitely work. You know what? The main point is the message that the Buddha sent 2,500 years ago was actually internalizing for the individual, internalizing. So the techniques through the mechanism which internalizing is the visual, touchy, feeling, learning, all of those. So it doesn't really matter which way.
Let's take this into the subject of magic, because the visualization techniques of the Lamaism are very much magical in the sense that not only do you visualize, say, some deity, yes, some demon or some Lama, whatever, but you go one step further. You try to become that, and even in the deeper tantric exercises, you take the image with all the little details of it. You internalize it. You make it a drop. You start feeling it through the spine. You know the
That's right.
Yeah?
That's right. Yes.
And those are very complex tantric techniques. In a way, they're comparable to what we see now in America, where people say, if you want to be rich, you have to think rich. If you want to have something, you visualize it. You want a big car, you visualize it, and it will happen. You want a better job, you visualize it. And there's lots of tapes about it. And both of those techniques seems to be geared to getting something, to achieving something. A magical approach.
I think it's a few years ago, I was talking with a friend of mine, American. She's very good, very learned, learned both in Tibetan Buddhism as well as Judaism. So I was talking to her. I said, what about this positiveness thing? And she turned to me and said, Rinpoche, if you wanted positiveness, you have a Tibetan Buddhism. It's so positive that you think you are Buddha and you're going to become a Buddha. What more positive than you want? So that's really true. You know?
But so it's positive thinking. It's a magical thinking, as opposed to mystical thinking, whereby you sit here and say, I am who I am and I don't want anything and I just, let the universe decide for me, which is a different attitude, a more mystical attitude. Yeah? But all this visualization, this meditation, it feels so directed. It feels as if you want something. Okay, I want to achieve enlightenment.
It is because, the purpose of Buddhist people is to become a Buddha. At least the Mahayana Buddhist people, to become a Buddha. And if you don't reach to Mahayana, then you get freedom from your negative emotions and negative karmas. And that was the goal of a Buddhist. And when you want to become a Buddha, and especially this Vajrayana or Tantrayana, Vajrayana's functions, they try to function at the result level, as though you are already fully enlightened Buddha, so you're generating light from your body, reaching to all these
visualization techniques within the Tantrayana, which is the
key for it.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have the visualization, the feelings and the focus, they all work together. If you don't visualize, there's no visual image, but there's a mental thought can go.
Yes, but they are result-oriented. Now,
result-oriented.
The funny thing is,
the word result-oriented here does not mean you're going to get a result, but you are functioning like you are already at the result level.
It's result-oriented. I call that magic because you're trying to achieve something.
That's right.
The other attitude is, and most of the time when I meet Buddhist teachers like you, Rinpoches or whatever, they don't seem to be result-oriented. They're more like relaxed. They say, oh man, things are, and don't worry. They seem, through their exercises, have learned the attitude, like, man, don't worry.
Yeah.
Yes?
The result level, when you get to the result level,
the result level is you don't want
absolutely relaxed,
And why not start by saying, man, forget about it, yes? You don't have to do meditation, you don't have to do visualization, just relax. You're fine.
It may not work.
It may not work.
It may not work. You can go to sleep.
Well, yeah, but...
it may not.
It
may not work. Just simple relaxation alone will not work. So that's why. You have to work, without which it will nothing going to achieve.
You have to try to get some results as far as spiritual enlightenment.
That's right.
Now,
as a matter of fact, the spiritual world result is more difficult to achieve than the material world. That's my feeling.
Well, but that's where we come to. I brought here a few of the Tibetan magical objects. This is a real skull. Yes?
Wow, yeah.
It's a real
Looks
skull.
like, yeah.
Can we see this? Yes. Well,
Yeah.
I call this Krishna, but it's in fact in Tibetan. You can drink from this and stuff like that. These I would call magical objects. This is already in pictures by Alexander David Neal in 1907. This is like a horn made from a human thigh bone.
That's right.
This is a skull.
Yeah.
These are very magical objects. How does this relate to being a Buddha, which means having overcome my instincts, my lust, my anger? How does this relate? The magical objects relate to that goal?
I have a friend in New York. He had a huge collection of Tibetan paintings. He's in insurance business. He owns an insurance company. So he's going to set up not only a Tibetan, all kind of different museum, the museum that had all these objects. So he was talking to me, and he found one very wrathful paintings with the dry skull cups wearing,
Yep.
skull mala wearing. So he told me why this person is so fierce, because that person had overcome the fear completely, so he's fierce. That's what he told me.
So you're saying that objects as this should help you to overcome the fear of death
That's right.
by using
two
this,
things. No, two
it's
things.
It's
No,
like symbolically
two things.
getting to grips with death.
That's two things.
Yeah.
One, it will remind you to death. It will remind you impermanent. And so they died, dead and dying. So why they remind you? Not to be afraid, but to be prepared as the time comes. To be prepared.
To be prepared. Yeah.
To be prepared. That's the one thing. Another thing is to overcome the fear.
Yes, because
So
at
two
first you
things.
see a skull, and I had the same
Yes,
thing. I said,
a little bit
wow.
scary, yeah.
And finally you say, yeah, first this might be me, or this might be my parents, or whatever,
And
or
I-
even horrible things. This might be your children, which for me is, very hard to. But so it's an exercise.
That's right. Very much. To remind you, not only this, and if you look in Thailand, some of those Thai Buddhist monasteries even keep dead bodies.
To
in-
observe, yes.
To remind impermanent.
Impermanence.
Yes.
The realization that material things are not there to stay.
That's right.
That even
life.
that all material things are mortal. They will.
That's
even
right.
the earth will die. The sun will die.
Definitely, one day.
How does that relate to the idea that there is no material things at all? That everything is
But
Maya?
there is a material things because we got a table here. This is the really table. But if you really look in this wood, it's a collection of manicures.
Yes, and energy, and there's nothing
Yeah,
there. The
yeah,
physicists say
that's
there's nothing
right,
there.
that's right.
But what makes the table? What is that
Because-
consciousness of the?
No. Because of the collection of the legs of the table and the top of the table, and you are using it, I'm using it, it is table.
Yeah, but is this our collective hallucination of a table?
No, it's not. I don't call it hallucination. I call it this is real table. But if you look at it, it is a collection of so many things. And if you're going to
the
search,
question that
if you're going to search
Yeah.
within this table, take everything part, is this table, you're not going to find it. And that's why the famous Buddhist thing called emptiness.
there is emptiness. Yes.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about consciousness then. I
Okay.
mean, do you believe people are conscious?
Oh yes, of course.
Okay. Some animals are conscious.
Of course.
Is the table conscious?
No,
Where
they're
does the line?
different. You know why? Why? And the table is simply a collection of metals. Metals. And the consciousness is consciousness, non-metal.
Okay. In the Buddhist wording, you talk about sentient beings. Eh?
That's right.
Yes. Now this
Exactly.
includes animals. Does it include
Of
plants?
course. Some plants, some not.
Some plants and some not. Some
Yes.
big trees that are sentient.
It's not necessarily big tree. Some trees have them alive, some don't. That's what it
Okay.
is.
There's even some mushrooms.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
Some that have.
yes, yes.
Now, why not the molecules in the table?
Because there is no such a person called Mr. Table. There's Mr. You, there's Mr. Me.
Why? The table has a life. It's been made.
Yeah, but you don't call this Mr. Table, do you? No, you don't.
No, but some paintings, for instance.
Yeah, some paintings may have a life, some don't.
Some paintings may have a life.
Yes.
May
Very
have
definitely.
consciousness.
Some paintings, yes.
So
Particularly those holy ones.
but so what you're implying is that matter can receive consciousness or can receive
Yeah,
life.
This
and
is funny, you know. Last year, I was asked to participate in one of those conferences, and this is called Artificial Intelligence. A number of professors are there.
Marvin Minsky, those kind of guys.
No, the Ray Kurzweil is there, the head of IBM is there, and then from the other side, from the spiritual side, me and Gene Houston is there. You talk about Gene.
I know Gene fairly well. Yes, yeah, I know
Gene and I were the two person from the spiritual side, and then it was organized by ALO, not America Online, but another company from Los Angeles or San
anyway,
Francisco.
okay,
Anyway,
yeah.
so the guy was trying to say it's a little pager. That's a two-way paging, and he says this is a future communication. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The Ray Kurzweil was sitting next to me, and he said, "I don't know what he's talking about. It. The computers can go in the eyeglasses within a couple of years."
I believe that.
Yeah,
but does that
he
make
said-
the
he
computer
said
alive?
The total computer. The question is whether there can be an artificial intelligence
Yeah.
with all this computer and so and forth. That was the subject.
Yeah, but this is we talk about the brain as the meat computer. Is this only mechanics, and can we rebuild it by screws and chips and stuff like that? That's the discussion. The discussion then is not about knowledge and what we call information or data, because we can put a lot of data in computers. We know that we can make a computer that gives you answers to everything. But the difference between wisdom and knowledge is love. Yes, knowledge plus love makes wisdom. Yes? How can we put wisdom in a computer? How can we put love in a computer?
Yeah, this is what the Ray Kurzweil was saying. We can capture intelligence of someone and somebody, wherever it comes from, probably not a living person because they're going to be sued. So capture the thing and put it in the computer. And I'm saying, no.
Wasn't that Faust?
No,
This story, yeah.
It's possible. But I'm saying you may not be able to capture any consciousness. However, a consciousness may enter into one of those intelligence, because if the conditions are right to be able to function as a living
wait a minute.
being.
What you're saying is the same way that a painting can get
Yes.
some consciousness by a magical act,
When
by
the
who
not
paints it and the
necessarily-
people watching it. And
Yeah,
yes?
when the conditions are right, it can materialize.
So we should design very complex computers and then all do like and put it in there.
You don't have to do that, because I think it will come by itself, by itself.
Well, that's a frightening
By
idea. So we
itself.
might have computers, or we might have technical constructions that do acquire consciousness
Oh yeah, I think it.
Not because we put it in, not because we make it, because well, that's...
We provide the condition, and some consciousness flying somewhere going to enter in that, be able to function. Why not? But each and every one of them have a very certain true ethical questions.
Well, the ethical question I'll ask here,
Yes.
because we know this happens. Some people, some computers can get along with me, but not with the other guy, or vice versa. Sometimes a computer just doesn't want to work. And then another guy comes, and it works great. Now, is that consciousness that has entered into the computer?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? I think so.
I think this side of the computer knowledge is not good enough to be able to punch the numbers in, so it might not be functioning well. Right this moment, I don't think consciousness is in computer. But we cannot rule out it will not be there in future. It's very much possible. When the conditions are right, things happens. Though the Buddha says consciousness only remains consciousness and non-consciousness cannot become consciousness. But still, when the computer has all the conditions right, consciousness may enter in that. But ethical questions, I'm looking much deeper than that, much more complex. Now, for example, these days you have this genome, right? Gene therapy, gene thing.
Oh yeah, genetic manipulation.
Genetic manipulation. So these genome things, and I think there's a really true ethical question. I don't care whether you are making love with a you're homosexual or heterosexual. I think that's a past centuries issue. It's not this century's issue. This century's issue now really becomes this genetic thing. Can you imagine?
So you say we should not do this?
I'm not saying we should not do that, but we should definitely have an ethical guarantee. What will going to happen, because they're going to create a new, sort of a new human being in the laboratory. Because they say, well...
Like cloned people.
Clone people, and then that's also not going to be easy clone now. Because when you sorted out all the genetic thing, they say, well, the pure white, pure Caucasian white is too white. We don't like it. Okay, bring it a drop or maybe a 0.5% of African American or something. And then you look around, hey, Tiger Wood looks beautiful. Let's get a drop of Asian thing here.
But these ethical questions, I mean, can we stop it? Are you against it? What should we do?
No. The question is I'm not against it, but I think we should really have an ethical standard set up, and so that they can really... I'm afraid of two different types of human beings. One human being with all this, 6 foot tall, half white, half black, little Asian.
The engineered one.
The engineer one.
The improved model.
And you and me, type of our type, is the bad one. So after a little while, in a few years' time, maybe...
We have class A and class B.
Class A and class B human being. Do we want that? That is a real ethical question I'm worried about.
And that's an important question.
And we don't have a time to worry about whether you're homosexual or heterosexual. And this is a real question of ethical question.
Real question. Genetic manipulation should be carefully watched.
Yeah.
Okay, Gelek, Rinpoche, thank you for being here with us. And we spent 3/4 of an hour talking about... we never planned what we were talking about.
Yeah.
But thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Your organization can be found via info@jewelheart.nl or for worldwide jewelheart.org. That's de website. U kunt dus meer leren over Gelek Rinpoche en de Jewel Heart organisatie via de website jewelheart.org in Amerika of een e-mailtje sturen naar info@jewelheart.nederland. Hij is geregeld in Nederland, dus hij komt alweer eens een keer terug en geeft dan lezingen. En wat mij betreft een heel interessant gesprek over wat moeilijke vragen, homoseksualiteit, genetische manipulatie, magie. In dit gesprek met een boeddhistische leraar die wel in Tibet is opgevoed. U hoorde het, hij heeft 10.000 van die pagina's uit zijn hoofd geleerd ooit. Dus echt nog de oude stijl. Maar daarna in India en in Amerika heeft gewoond en nu de wereld rondreist. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank
Namaste.
you.